Well, Cam Newton is continuing to wait for his next NFL opportunity. He's been on the market for over a month, but he reportedly doesn't want to settle for a backup role. According to Joe Person of The Athletic, there is no way Cam signs with anyone as a backup. He will continue to rehab and wait for travel restrictions to be lifted so that teams can evaluate him. And the worst case scenario is that he will wait for a starter to get injured.
And that will happen.
That will happen, but it may not happen at the beginning of the season.
That's
it
right.
might not happen until halfway through the season. Who knows? Or it may not happen. You know, there are injuries, obviously, but a starter may get injured and they may have a significant backup there. So that doesn't help the situation for Cam Newton. Now, Cam Newton's in an interesting predicament. Obviously, he can't get physically evaluated by teams. But also, I do tend to agree with you that he's kind of too big of a personality to be a backup in a lot of places.
Oh, he would engulf Gardner Minshew. It would be the minute Gardner had a bad series, it'd be the stadium. It'd be like Tebow. Remember, Tebow's on the bench and they're screaming, Tebow, Tebow.
Right. And I mean, and if the Jags weren't clearly and obviously tanking with that Gardner Minshew move. And listen, I like Gardner, but we all agree they're tanking, right? Then of course it would make sense for them to just bring Cam Newton in. I think we both agree Cam Newton is a better quarterback than Gardner Minshew at this point.
Yes.
Without even evaluating him physically. But that's a situation where he should actually be the starter, and they're not going to do that because they want to not do that well this season and get their quarterback for the future. Some other teams, obviously, we know what the Patriots are doing. They're going with Jarrett Stidham. Ron Rivera is probably not going to go with Cam Newton since he has a new situation in Washington, and they want to evaluate what Dwayne Haskins is. They don't think Cam is the future there. I actually think that the best case scenario for Cam, if he is to be signed by somewhere, would be the Steelers. The Steelers need a significant backup, and Ben Roethlisberger's job is not in question no matter who comes in there. That's Ben Roethlisberger's team. I think the Steelers need a veteran backup quarterback. None of us really know what Ben's going to come back to, but there's not going to be a drumbeat for Cam Newton to take over the starting position if Ben struggles a little bit this year. It's still Ben Roethlisberger's team. It's just not that environment. So I actually think the Steelers are the best place to go, but if he doesn't want to take a backup role, it's obviously going to limit where he ends up going.
That's why he's got a small market, yeah.
Yeah. So the Patriots seem to be sticking with Jarrett Stidham as their starter in 2020, and his coach at Auburn, Gus Malzahn, told ESPN that Stidham will be ready to step up as a starter. He said it definitely helped him to learn under the best and see what that looks like, but he's the kind of young man, too, that this is what he's been waiting on. The moment won't be too big for him. He'll be up to the challenge. That's what I expect. He also said he's a gym rat, always at the complex, trying to learn and study film. And he also thought that New England was the first perfect place for Stidham system-wise. So we're getting all the cliches about what Stidham is intangibly.
I'd like to see.
We really don't know him.
Yeah, I'd like to see him play.
Yes. Well, that's the question, right? Like, we don't know what Stidham is tangibly. We don't know what he is on the field. None of us have seen him. Obviously, everyone that's around him, his teammates, his former coaches, and obviously the Patriots are all in on him as far as his leadership and the intangibles that he's shown. But we just don't know what it is. But if he does get in there and it's a disaster, is that the plan? I mean, I know they don't want that to be the case. Obviously, the best case scenario is he gets in there and he's great and turns out to be the quarterback of the future.
Well, they're obviously, by not acquiring Dalton or Cam, they're just going to roll the dice on it and see if he can play. And I don't believe he's their long-term future, but I could certainly be wrong. I mean, I think if he was great, then we would have heard in the last year, oh my God, Jarrett Stidham looks great. We never heard about him until Tom left, and now people are like, oh, he's really special. We were hearing Garoppolo was good, like right out of the chute. You were hearing, Garoppolo's got a gun. Garoppolo can throw it. We haven't heard anything about Stidham in a year. That's why I'm a cynic.
Yes, that is also why I'm skeptical. Finally, all eyes will be on how Aaron Rodgers deals with the addition of Jordan Love to the quarterback room this season. His former teammate, A.J. Hawk, who we spoke to recently, told Peter King that he's more interested in the dynamic between Rodgers and his coach, Matt LaFleur, because this story will linger for a while. He said, it does make me wonder now what their relationship will be like. I think Aaron's relationship with Jordan Love will be great. Aaron will be open with him. I think the frustrating part for him, for the organization, will be that the story will not go away after the first press conference for Aaron when the team is finally back together. It'll keep coming up, not just this year, and it probably doesn't help that Rodgers and LaFleur probably won't be in the same room for a while. a lot of good perspective from AJ Hawk. He said with us that, that this is a conversation that's going to linger, obviously, because they haven't even had this press conference yet. What kind of questions are going to come up when Aaron Rodgers has to finally talk to the media for the first time? But this is a good point. Sometimes when you have, an argument with someone, it's a long-distance relationship, you don't really get to see each other and kind of, you give a little hug and get over it, that those kind of feelings can linger and fester, and you're talking with other people and they're feeding you things. You shouldn't really feel that good about that. Or I don't like how he said that. Or, this is really a shot at you. There's a lot of things that can be drummed up here. Again, we don't know what the relationship is like between Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. But most of us agree this was a little bit of a message.
Yes, more than a little bit.
I mean, it was a little bit more than a message, but they're not moving off of him right away. So if this was a situation where they brought him in, it's like, okay, like you're pretty much done here. That'd be one thing. But they have to manage this for several years, which is what AJ Hawk's saying. Like, how is that going to be managed over the next couple years? Because that's what the situation is for, right? Jordan Love's for a few years from now.
Good stuff, Joy, with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Live News.
Former NBA coach George Karl. We're jammed up on time. Jane Slater, I'll try to push to the top of the hour. Coming up next, another thought on MJ and these NFL draft picks. It's amazing. Every year, we've got a bunch of first-round busts. Why does everybody get so sensitive when I submit to you 5 or 6 guys I think could be a first-round whiff? That's coming up. Folks.
It's like I was going to get a root canal to make him pay me fair market value. And he was MFing this dude so bad up and down, like, this dude don't want to pay me, man. And when he finally found that was the first $30 million he got. And Michael was pissed, like, this dude don't want to pay anybody. And that's what really happened.
Yeah. No, it's great. I appreciate you sharing that story. For the record, a lot of the dream team, the legendary practice, all this stuff. It was right after a season. You guys didn't, you didn't have to play. The mythology is it was the most fun thing ever. Did you guys all love the dream team thing, or was it boring beating Tunisia by 60?
Colin, it's probably number one, the practice of the part of anything I ever did in my life. The practices were the most intense things I've ever been through, ever, every single day. Because at that time, you had me and Karl Malone, who were the 2 best power forwards. We were trying to kill each other. You had Patrick and David Robinson. They were the 2 best centers. They were trying to kill each other. And you saw a little bit, Clyde and Michael hated each other, so they practiced against each other every day. Magic had just lost to the Bulls in the finals, and he was pissed at Scottie for locking him down. So we had these little mano-a-mano things going every day. So that's what made it so crazy and intense. Like, the games were a cakewalk. But every day in practice, I'm playing against Karl Malone, David against Patrick, Clyde against Michael, Scottie against Magic. And it was just, what do you call it, pride, ego, whatever. We tried to kill each other every single day. That's why Magic, when you said, I've never been through anything like those practices on the Dream Team because, well, like I say, it was all ego, obviously, but we tried to kill each other every day. And it's the most awesome thing that I've ever experienced in my life, to be honest with you.
Well, you're always honest with us. Charles Barkley, what are you doing today, the rest of the day?
I am, actually, I'm doing a lot of radio and TV today because I want to thank everybody for bringing back the memory of the worst experience in my life, losing to the Bulls in 93, 94. So I'm on a tour this morning talking about the last dance. But I just want to thank you and every other person on TV and radio for bringing up the worst first night, the weekend I ever had in my life, losing to the Bulls.
Those were fun teams and great teams. I tell everybody all the time, go Google the Phoenix Suns with Barkley. They were scoring 133 and not shooting threes. You guys were, it was like the Globetrotters. It was literally, you were breaking and smashing offensive record. You were better than the Bulls offensively. I don't think you were as good defensively, but you were a better offensive team than they were.
Well, it's so funny you said that because, they're making a big deal out of this documentary, Colin. I actually think the Bulls with Pippen, Jordan, and Grant, I thought they were better than the Rodman Bulls. No disrespect to Dennis. I got love for Dennis. But I actually think the team that beat us in the finals was better that the one they're making a documentary about. Obviously, Dennis' personality and Michael's last thing. But I thought Michael in his supreme prime, Scotty and Horace Grant was the best defensive team I've ever seen, and I've always said that.
Yeah. Have fun today, buddy. Great talking to you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. Keep up the great work. I'm going to get back to doing absolutely nothing for this 6 straight weeks.
A legendary broadcaster and Hall of Famer, Charles Barkley. Love having him on. As, you feel lucky. We've had him on twice in this pandemic. He's been great both times. Here's Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is